Today, I am going to present the science fiction thriller Freaks. The movie opens inside a small, run-down, boarded-up house. All the windows are covered with wood and cardboard, so almost no light comes in from outside. We meet Chloe, a 7-year-old girl, and her father Henry, played by Emil Hirsch. From the very first scene, we can feel that something is wrong with this household. Henry is extremely anxious, constantly checking locks, whispering instructions to his daughter, and behaving like a man who is terrified of something outside. Henry has never let Chloe leave the house, not even once in her entire life. He tells her that there are bad men outside who want to kill them, and that if she ever steps outside the door, something terrible will happen to her. Chloe, being a normal, curious child, obviously wants to know more about the outside world, but Henry refuses to explain anything in detail. He simply repeats that it is not safe. To keep Chloe occupied and to prepare her, supposedly, for a future when she might need to blend into normal society, Henry spends his days teaching her how to behave like an average human girl. He rehearses simple social situations with her, such as how to greet a stranger, how to introduce herself with a fake, ordinary name, and how to act calm and unremarkable if anyone ever asks her questions. We're family who lives next door, the Reed family. This detail becomes important later in the film. In one of the early training scenes, Henry sits Chloe down at the kitchen table and role-plays a conversation with her, pretending to be a stranger who asks her name and where she lives. Chloe, following his instructions, answers with a fake name and says she lives with the Reed family next door. Henry corrects her tone, her posture, and her word choice repeatedly, telling her she needs to sound normal, not rehearsed. It's a strange, almost eerie scene, because we are watching a father coach his daughter in the exact same way someone might train a spy or teach a person a cover story, rather than simply teaching a child manners. Chloe asks Henry many questions about her mother. Henry always deflects these questions or gives short, sad answers, and he becomes visibly uncomfortable whenever the subject of mommy comes up. Chloe has never met her mother, she has only heard that her mother is dead. We also start to notice something is physically wrong with Henry. In private moments, when Chloe is not looking, Henry's eyes begin to bleed. He wipes the blood away quickly and hides it from his daughter. He also appears to use a strange power without fully explaining it to us yet. Objects and people around him occasionally seem to move differently, almost as if time itself is behaving strangely near him, though at this stage in the film it is subtle and confusing, intentionally so, because the directors want the audience to be just as unsure as Chloe about what is really happening. Their only contact with the outside world, besides Henry's occasional supply trips, is an ice cream truck that drives past the neighborhood, playing its cheerful jingle. And one of it playing its cheer, Chloe watches it from a crack in the boarded-up window every single day, fascinated by the Mr. Snowcone truck and its driver, an old man. This becomes a recurring image and a symbol of the outside world's temptation for Chloe, something colorful, musical, and joyful, in complete contrast with the dark, grim atmosphere inside the house. One day, while Henry is away buying supplies, Chloe's curiosity finally overcomes her fear, and she disobeys her father for the first time. She opens the front door and steps outside. This is a hugely important moment in the film, the first time Chloe experiences sunlight, grass, the sound of birds, cars passing, and other people in her entire memory. The camera lingers on her face as she reacts to the outside world with total astonishment, because for her, everything is brand new. Chloe approaches the ice cream truck. Its driver is an elderly man, friendly and a little eccentric, who everyone in the neighborhood calls Mr. Snowcone. He offers Chloe ice cream, and the two begin to talk. Chloe, having been coached extensively by her father, tries to use her rehearsed normal girl persona, but she is clumsy at it because she has never actually interacted with a real person outside her home before. The old man notices that something is unusual about her, but he treats her kindly and does not scare her away. During this conversation, and a few others that follow over subsequent days, the old man starts asking Chloe pointed questions about her father and her home life. He seems to know more than a random ice cream vendor should. Eventually, he reveals a shocking piece of information. He claims to be Chloe's grandfather, specifically the father of Chloe's mother, Mary. His name is Alan. This is the first major twist of the film. The seemingly random, quirky ice cream truck man is actually a close family member who has apparently been searching for Chloe and observing her from a distance for some time. Alan tells Chloe that he does not believe Mary is dead, despite what Henry has told her. He suggests that Henry has lied to Chloe about many things. Chloe is confused and torn. She wants to trust her father, who has protected her all her life, but she is also desperate to know the truth about her mother, and Alan represents her only connection to that truth. During one of Chloe's secret excursions, or perhaps prompted directly by Alan, something happens that reveals Chloe herself has abnormal powers. Under Alan's encouragement, Chloe discovers that she has a form of mental manipulation. She can influence people's minds and make them believe things or obey her simply by looking at them and concentrating concentrating. This is shown in the film through a tense scene where Chloe, perhaps out of fear or in a moment of panic, uses this power on someone nearby, for example, causing a stranger, or, in some versions of the sequence, a police officer who questions her and Alan in a park to become confused, forget what they saw, or act against their own will. Chloe herself is shocked and scared by this ability, not fully understanding what just happened to her, and this is one of the moments where her eyes begin to bleed slightly, mirroring what we had already seen happen to her father. He tells Chloe that these powered people are hunted, imprisoned, or killed, and that his own daughter, Chloe's mother, Mary, was captured and is being held prisoner in the underground facility beneath Maddock Mountain, not dead as Henry claims. According to Alan, Mary has an extremely powerful, dangerous ability, which is part of the reason the government considers her such a high-value prisoner. Chloe puts the pieces together herself, the woman she has been seeing in visions inside her closet, Mary trying to reach her daughter from the prison where she is being held. Meanwhile, Henry discovers that Chloe has left the house and has been in contact with Alan. He is furious and terrified. This leads to one of the more emotional confrontations in the film between father and daughter, where Henry tries to reassert control, warning Chloe that Alan cannot be trusted and that leaving the house puts them both in mortal danger. It's around this point that the film clarifies Henry's own power. Henry is able to create something like a temporal bubble. He can manipulate time itself around the house so that time passes at wildly different speeds inside versus outside. Because of this power, while Chloe experienced what felt like 7 full years of life growing up inside that house with her father, only a few months have actually passed in the outside world. This explains several confusing details from earlier in the movie, such as why the house looks like it has been abandoned for years while the neighborhood around it looks almost unchanged, and it also reveals just how extreme Henry's efforts to protect, or perhaps trap, his daughter have been. Both Henry and Alan are confirmed as abnormals themselves, evidenced by the bleeding eyes we've seen throughout the film, which is apparently a physical side effect or warning sign of using these powers too much. Realizing that Chloe is no longer safe hiding in the house, since the authorities may become aware of her, Henry makes a desperate decision. He takes Chloe, along with a large amount of money, to the house next door, the Reed family's home. His plan seems to be to convince the Reeds, or perhaps to use the money to bribe them, into taking Chloe in and passing her off as a normal, ordinary child, disconnected from Henry and any suspicion of being an abnormal. This is the reason he spent so much time earlier in the film training Chloe to act and speak like a normal girl who could believably belong to another family. However, the plan collapses almost immediately. When Henry knocks on the Reed's door and asks Nancy to take Chloe in, offering her the envelope of cash, Nancy reacts with suspicion rather than sympathy. She asks Henry pointed questions about who he really is and why he is so desperate to give away his own daughter to strangers, and she notices that both Henry and Chloe are behaving oddly, almost rehearsed, which only makes her more distrustful instead of reassured. During this tense exchange between Henry and Nancy, Chloe, scared and perhaps trying to help her father or protect herself, uses her mind manipulation power on Nancy. This backfires badly. Rather than calming Nancy down, it alarms her even further, and Nancy immediately understands, or at least strongly suspects, that Chloe is an abnormal. Nancy, frightened, decides to report them, contacting the Abnormal Defense Force to tell them there are abnormals living next door. This is a critical turning point in the plot. From this moment forward, the ADF is actively closing in on Henry and Chloe, and the family's secret life of hiding is effectively over. When ADF agents arrive at the Reed house in response to Nancy's call, Chloe, now growing more confident and more dangerous with her powers, manipulates the situation so that the agents end up killing Nancy Reed themselves, rather than harming Chloe or Henry, essentially turning the ADF's own violence against the person who betrayed them. This moment shows the audience just how powerful, and honestly how frightening, Chloe's abilities have become, even though she is only 7 years old. It's a genuinely unsettling scene because it shows a child capable of causing someone's death, even if her intentions were about self-preservation and protecting her father. With their cover blown and the ADF now aware of their location, Henry, Chloe, and Alan decide their best option is to go on the offensive. They will attempt to rescue Mary from the underground prison at Maddock Mountain. Chloe, having discovered and grown more skilled with her telepathic mind control powers, becomes central to this rescue plan. She uses her abilities remotely, essentially astral projecting or extending her mental influence over long distances, to manipulate the minds of the guards and staff inside the Maddock Mountain facility, helping to clear a path for Mary's escape from inside her prison cell. This sequence is intercut between the underground facility, where Mary begins to break free with Chloe's telepathic assistance, and the outside world, where Henry and Alan are trying to hold off the ADF and protect Chloe while she remains in her trance-like state, vulnerable, controlling the events happening far away. Just as the escape plan is working, Agent Cecilia Ray, the ADF agent who has been investigating the family and who has clearly done her homework on them, arrives personally. Agent Ray is not a simple soldier following orders blindly. She is shown through a conversation to understand the deeper truth and even some of the moral complexity behind the ADIF's mission. She confronts Henry and Alan, revealing that she already knows the truth about their entire family history, that Henry and Mary are the parents, that Alan is the grandfather, that Chloe is their daughter, and that Mary is imprisoned in Maddock Mountain. She essentially tells them there is nowhere left to hide, and warns them that if they kill her, the ADIF will respond with devastating, disproportionate force, specifically threatening to call in a military drone strike against their location. In this conversation, Agent Ray also expresses a kind of weary conviction about her job, arguing that the abnormals who go into hiding only make things more dangerous for everyone. Alan and Henry, in turn, argue back that the government created this danger in the first place by treating an entire group of people as criminals simply for existing, rather than because of anything they had actually done. This short exchange is one of the clearest moments where the film directly states its social commentary out loud, instead of leaving it only implied through the news broadcasts we hear throughout the movie. Despite this warning, the confrontation turns violent. Agent Ray kills Alan and severely mortally wounds Henry during the fight. However, Chloe, now fully aware of the threat to her family and pushed to the edge, uses her powers against Agent Ray and kills her. With Alan dead and Henry dying from his injuries, the family is left in a desperate, heartbreaking situation. True to Agent Ray's warning, the ADIF authorizes a missile strike, specifically a Hellfire missile, to destroy the house and eliminate the family once and for all. In the final moments before the missile hits, Henry, using the very last of his strength and his time manipulation power, slows down time one more time. Even though he is mortally wounded, he manages to grab Chloe and carry her to safety, getting her out of the house just before the missile destroys it completely. Even as he is dying, his very last use of his power is dedicated entirely to protecting his daughter's life. After getting Chloe to safety, Henry finally succumbs to his wounds and dies. This is one of the most emotional beats of the film, because for the entire movie we have watched Henry as an anxious, overprotective, sometimes frightening father figure, and only in this final act do we fully understand the depth of what he was trying to do and sacrifice for his daughter. Just when the situation seems most hopeless, Chloe alone, her father and grandfather both dead, surrounded by ADIF agents, her mother Mary finally arrives. Having successfully escaped Maddock Mountain thanks to Chloe's earlier telepathic assistance, Mary reveals her own power, the ability to fly. She arrives dramatically and uses her power, along with apparent super strength or combat ability, to kill or defeat the remaining ADIF agents threatening Chloe, finally reuniting mother and daughter for the first time in Chloe's conscious memory. In the final scene of the film, Mary, now free and reunited with her daughter, tells Chloe that she intends to protect her the same way Henry always tried to, by keeping her hidden and safe from the world, continuing the pattern of hiding that has defined Chloe's entire life so far. However, Chloe, who has grown enormously over the course of the film, both emotionally and in terms of her own power and self-confidence, refuses this plan. She tells her mother that she does not want to keep hiding anymore. She says that no one can force them to live in fear or tell them where they are and are not allowed to live. There is a particularly striking closing line from Chloe, where she essentially states that if anyone tries to bother them or hurt them again, she now knows exactly how to make them stop. A chilling but empowering statement, considering everything we have just watched her be capable of. Mary ultimately agrees with her daughter's wish. In the final shot of the film, mother and daughter fly away together, out in the open, no longer hiding, choosing to live in the world on their own terms rather than in fear.